update.
Updates!
We just found another good potential site that is outside of Tequamanon Falls State Park, outside of the designated distance that you can legally boondock and camp without getting in trouble.
Yeah, it's on state forest land, and it has pretty darn good AT&T cellular coverage, so...
And it's a pretty big area, and there were actually 3 tent campers back there.
Yeah, but there's room for...
A ton of people.
Yeah, and to be neighborly neighbors while camping, so...
Yeah. And then
we got hungry.
Well, we were already hungry before that, but then... Anyways. So we made our way to Paradise, and we were actually going to head over to this...
The inn.
Yeah, the place called the Inn. But on our way there, we totally got distracted by a food truck.
And, you know, honestly, with a baby and 2 dogs, restaurant-style food is just kind of a pain for us, so... That's what Owen has to say, so...
Yeah, and I mean, it was perfect. There was no wait. We got there just in time for a bunch of other people to get in line behind us. We had tacos. We both had tacos. And then we got their brownie supreme dessert, which was really good.
Supreme.
And it's called Evie's, and it is next to the Blueberry Patch in Paradise if you're ever in the area.
Yeah.
And now we are on our way back on the road up to Whitefish Point area.
Yep.
We have a handful of other sites that we want to check out. This has become an all-day adventure, which
well, I mean,
it is what it is.
We knew it was going to be an all-day adventure.
Yeah.
That's why we packed dinner for the pups and everything.
Yeah.
So we knew we were going to be on the road a while, so...
Update.
Update number, whatever.
Yeah, we don't know anymore.
It's all a blur.
It is. So after our last update, we kind of went up towards Whitefish Point.
Yep.
And
I remember our last update now. It was only like 4 hours ago.
I'm trying to think in my head what happened. We checked out a few other spots, and they're actually pretty good. They're not bad. We get good internet service there as well.
We found one that we think we might actually go to next.
Yeah. And then we went down the rabbit hole again. And we decided to go to Vermilion Lighthouse.
Well, since we were already like halfway out to Vermilion Point and we've never been there, we decided...
We figured why not?
Why not? And then about halfway from... So 3/4 of the way we were like, oh God, this road sucks.
Right.
And we've been being shaken around all day, so we're kind of like over it. But then we're like, oh, it's only a mile. We gotta go. And of course, you know, that mile takes 15 more minutes bouncing around. But anyway, so we made it to Vermilion Point, and now we are getting back out to the Whitefish Point Road.
Yeah.
And we are gonna head home. So we have like probably...
It's been a long day. It's almost 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it's almost 9. We have probably an hour and a half drive back home, so...
But yeah, but at least we have our plan for our next stop.
Yes.
And then even the stop after that. So
we have a really cool site here, a couple that we could stay in, actually. Yeah. And then over by Grand Marais, which is super awesome. And so, yeah, we're good for the next, probably... once we leave where we're at now, it'll probably be 2 to 4 weeks that we're good, so that's cool.
Yeah, so even though it was a long, long day, normally we wouldn't scout this many sites in one day, but because of the drive, we just wanted to cram it all and get it done.
Yeah. Yeah, we only plan on moving like an hour or 2 away at the most, and so this was already kind of pushing that, and then we wanted to hit we kind of went to two areas that are a couple hours away. So,
well, and then we got distracted by seeing these awesome lighthouses.
right.
So, anyways, it was a good day. We got to see lots of stuff. We
Yep.
know where we're going next. We accomplished our mission. And
we're towing a motorboat back there.
Owen is being crazy.
Yep.
And he's full of blueberries because I've been feeding him
Oh
blueberries.
yeah, we found a lot of wild blueberries.
Yeah.
We found more blueberries.
Yes.
And we found cranberries too, wild cranberries, but they weren't ripe yet.
Yeah, they're not ripe yet, but
Maybe
yeah, we found a bunch of them.
in a couple weeks when we're out here.
Yeah.
Whoa, bumpy road.
Oh, it is bumpy.
Whee! So yeah,
All right. Well, then we will see you guys later.
bye. Hey guys, this is Bill. Just wanted to take a minute to show you kind of how we find potential boondocking sites and before we actually go out and check them out. So everything for us generally starts on Google Maps, and like I said before, we kind of look for sites that are along the big lakes. So a lot of times I'm just searching the shore, and in this particular case, we're actually going to disclose where we are. We normally don't do that because we put a lot of time and effort into our boondocking sites, and a lot of them aren't on any of the free campsite websites, or Campendium or freecampsites.net are good resources. This one actually is on a couple of those, so we don't mind sharing it. But we often kind of like to keep those to ourselves, and it's just because we put a ton of time. You'll see how much time we put into this, and then this is just me sitting here doing this for hours on end, but then we also spend hours in the vehicle driving around and checking to make sure that the cell phone coverage is actually going to work, that we can get our rig into these sites. And we've also started kind of taking some pictures and kind of building our own database of all these sites, so that we may do a Patreon or something in the future, or be able to share that map with some of our friends and family. So just wanted to start out. This is Google Maps. Super easy to use. It's in satellite mode, and I'm going to kind of get really basic for the people who aren't used to doing this. So forgive me if you know how to switch between satellite view and map view, but this is basically how you do that. And I am on a Verizon hotspot right now, which is a little bit slow, so forgive me for the speed. So this is map view. So we switch over to satellite view. And I'm going to have three resources here. Two of those I'm going to be flipping back and forth on a lot while I'm doing this, because this satellite view doesn't tell me anything about who owns what property. And that's the most important thing to boondockers, is to make sure that we aren't camping on somebody's private property unknowingly, certainly not intentionally. We stay off of all, any property that's posted. So as you can see, this map doesn't tell you who owns what. So the primary resource we use here in Michigan is the My Hunt map. So Michigan has their own mapping system, Department of Natural Resources. So when you first open the My Hunt map, they're going to ask you to agree to their terms, which is pretty typical for most sites nowadays, any mapping sites. They're basically just saying they can't be held responsible for the information that's there. Obviously they try and keep this as updated as possible, but there's land acquisitions and everything happening all the time throughout the state. So sometimes it takes a week to a month or something for an acquisition or a sale to get updated on here. So over here we have some layers. So we have hunting lands turned on. You can see all the different shaded areas are actual land sections, pieces of property. All these stars are different. Maybe a farmer allows bird hunting on their fields during a certain season. So that's kind of what those are. Those are special season hunting. So we're going to zoom in up here to Whitefish Point. That's where we are right now. So you can see there's a lot of state forest land. All this green is state forest land. This dark red here is state park land. You cannot camp or boondock on state park land. You can only use the campgrounds that may be in that state park. There are a few state parks that don't have campgrounds, so be aware of that. There's a couple state parks, like Craig Lake, that only have like a hike in, or I think some of them are drive-in lodging. They have, I think, a yurt and some cabins. They don't have a modern campground. So be aware of that. You cannot camp anywhere on a state park land. So all this dark red is kind of off limits. The tan, I believe here is, let's just double check. That's commercial forest land. So as far as I know, you can still camp on that. Just be aware that there may be some logging activity going on. You'll see around, there's one, dark areas. Those are state game and wildlife areas. State game and wildlife areas have very specific camping regulations in terms of dates and seasons. So look those up. And that's so that you aren't interfering with, migratory paths or specific bird hunting seasons, those kind of things. And then also state national forest is shown on this map as well, which we can zoom out and get some of that over here by Pictured Rocks. So that's this pink area. And again, national forests are going to have their own boondocking regulations. So this is technically, national lakeshore. So you can't, there's requirements there for being able to disperse camp as well. National forest here in orange is similar to state forest in Michigan, where you can camp basically anywhere on national forest for, I think it's up to 15 days. And then the pink here is Fish and Wildlife Service. That would be federal land as well. And those are probably pretty highly regulated as well, kind of similar to the state wildlife areas. So just make sure you go do your research. If you have any questions about where you can camp, there's what are called field offices. So there's, let's say Hiawatha National Park, or Hiawatha National Forest has a headquarters, and then they have field offices, which are kind of out in the different areas because Hiawatha National Forest is huge, just like a lot of the national forests. So stop in at your forest offices, ask questions. The state has field offices. They have phone numbers you can call. Generally, you can stop into any of the state parks. Most of the state parks will have information on the state forests as well. And a lot of the state forest campgrounds, which are kind of the smaller, less modernized campgrounds, those are all, and the boating access sites that we'll see on here, those are actually managed by, kind of the nearest or local state park as well. They handle all the maintenance on those. So state parks are a great place to get information on the state forest land if you have any questions. So as you can see here, there's a ton of state land up in here. And this is why we kind of flip between these two maps. So, we might be surfing along the shoreline looking for what appears to maybe be a suitable spot. And, we can see this road kind of coming through here. This is Wildcat Road. We actually drove this the other day too. and bam, it ends at the lake. Well, that looks super inviting, right? Nice big open area. I can just tell looking at the roads that we can likely get our fifth wheel down there. So, hey, I want to check that out. I'll flip over to my hunt and zoom in here. And, this is Wildcat Road. We're coming by a little lake. And they actually do have a hybrid on here where you can turn on a satellite image. It's a little tough to see sometimes behind the shading, but there's that spot on the map. And so I know that is state land and we could camp there. We happen to drive out to that location, and everything that you can see there is very soft, sugary sand, which doesn't work for us, doesn't give us a place to turn around. So unfortunately for us, it doesn't work, but there were some van campers and some truck campers and tent campers back there. So car camping, that could work for you. So that's just an example. We didn't find a whole lot along the lake shore, the big lake shores here, but what we did find is Sheldrake Lake. And another layer that we want to turn on here is recreational facilities. So in Michigan, you have to be at least 1 mile away from any established state forest campground to be able to camp dispersed. So you can see here, this little brown dot popped up, and that is a state forest campground. And that's Anders Lake State Forest Campground. So we want to make sure that we're at least 1 mile away from that. There are some tools on Google Maps that can help you do that. The easiest is, let's get back down to Sheldrake Lake here. You can also do a measure distance right on here. Let's see how this works. So there, we just threw that on, and it's 1.5 miles as the crow flies between those two locations. So we know we're good. We're over 1 mile. We can camp there. So it turns out Sheldrake Lake actually is a boating access site. There's a boat launch here. There's also a dam here. But there's a loop here that used to be a campground. And I don't know when it was abandoned by the state. Probably would have been by the State Forest Service. But the loop is still here, and there's actually still a number of campsites that you can get on. Only a couple or a few of them are big enough to handle a rig of our size. We're in a 36-foot fifth wheel. So there's actually another fifth wheel here in one of the other sites. So there's probably about 3-4 sites here that could handle a fifth wheel or a larger trailer. The rest of them are good for small trailers, tents, car camping, like that. So once I saw this site, then of course I flipped over to my hunt, made sure that it is all state land, so we know we can camp anywhere around here. We've driven all these trails, and there are some other decent sites back in the woods that we wouldn't necessarily get the RV into, but they'd be good for cars. And so that's how we came up with this site. And then obviously we drove around a lot, and we eventually got to here and checked it out and made sure it was good. The last resource I have pulled up here, which I just learned about, is the federal government has a 4G LTE coverage map, which is far more realistic than what the carriers put out as coverage maps on their websites. So we made the decision to go with AT&T for our modem because they generally had broader coverage in the UP of Michigan, which is where we're going to spend quite a bit of our time. And then we have our visible cell phones, which are on the Verizon network, with a 5 megabit unlimited data. So we have both systems, and so we use this map now because the coverage maps, like I said, you know, they show you've got coverage basically everywhere, which is absolutely not the case. And just from our drive between Grand Marais and Whitefish, we've verified that this map is far more accurate. So we can click on AT&T coverage, and so we're right in here at Sheldrake Lake, and we have great coverage, and we know this whole area is covered very well because we've driven it and checked it. We also know that this area is dead because we drove it and checked it, and there's no good service out there. So so this map is and if you go to AT&T's map, they're going to show probably 90% of that area covered, and it's not. So so this is a great resource. If you just search for FCC, that's the Federal Communications Commission, just search for FCC 4G LTE coverage, and this map resource will come up for you. And we've got all these bookmarked on our system, so we can pull these up quickly and easily. We can also turn on Verizon here, turn off AT&T. So, oops, that's Verizon Voice. There is a difference. So Verizon has really good coverage in this area for data as well. So we kind of look for that to have a backup. And you can turn them both on and see the overlap. So fantastic resource. Glad we just found this one. On the My Hunt map, if you just search for My Hunt, that's M-I Hunt map, it'll come up on Google, and you just click in here and look around. There's a ton of land to explore. Where we've had trouble trying to find even targets to go look at is in the Marquette to Houghton area. There are a couple spots up there, but Marquette is like a dead zone for camping. You can see there's hardly, you know, any good state forest land, and there's just not a lot of places to even look at. Certainly not along the lake shore. There's a lot of privately owned land out there. So, and even these big swaths that are along the lake shore just don't have any access into them. So, so we're probably just avoiding this whole area this year till we can get some more research done and find some more areas to camp. So anyway, just wanted to show you those few resources, and that's how we ended up at Sheldrake Lake. And it's a beautiful camp spot. Like I said, there's probably 12, 15 different sites here, and probably four of them could handle larger trailers. So thanks.